I'm Seale. I'm the manager of the Pillar Creek Salmon Hatchery in Kodiak, Alaska. The purpose of this hatchery is to provide reliable and sustainable salmon returns for the Kodiak area. All around the Kodiak region, commercial fishermen depend on the hatchery system to provide economic stability and sustainable catches every year to make sure that we provide economic stability to the Kodiak area. How it's done is by us creating more juvenile fish to go into the ocean and having those juvenile fish return and become allocated resources to be caught by the fishermen in the fleet. We collect the gametes or the eggs and fertilize the eggs, and we rear the fish up and we put them in the ocean and then harvest a portion of the fish that return to support the hatcheries, and the rest of the fish are caught by commercial fishermen in the Kodiak area to support their families. We go out into wild systems for some of our projects, and we ripen those fish in the lakes and remove the gametes, fertilize the eggs, bring them back here to the hatchery, which operates as a central incubation facility, and then imprint those fish in different areas to have those fish go back around the archipelago to be caught by fishermen. By imprinting, I mean that the fish are creating a chemical map to go back to where they want to spawn and where they were created as juveniles. By putting those fish in different areas in salt water, when they go through the process of becoming a smolt, we can make those fish go back to different areas around the archipelago to make them accessible to all different types of user groups of fishermen. A lot of equipment that's made to rear fish, a lot of infrastructure associated with the incubation of eggs, with the rearing of fish in outdoor facilities, and also things to make our employees as comfortable as possible, because good employees is what makes good fish. Well, farm salmon is a lot like farm cows. I believe that you have a fish that's farmed. That fish is held in captivity from its birth all the way until it's harvested as food. It's never allowed to go into the ocean as a wild animal. And so any fish, or like most things that are farmed, I think that you can use assisted practices to make sure that those things reach marketable size to become a resource that you can make a profit from. When it comes to hatchery raised fish, what we're really doing is just giving those fish a good head start to get out into the ocean, and only the best wild fish come back to become a resource to be harvested for food. We don't add any chemicals to our fish here. We don't use any antibiotics. We don't use, we only use medicated feed in very, very rare instances. We have never used it in the 5 years that I've been the manager here. The only chemical we use here is to control fungus on the eggs or to control parasitic infestations on the outside of the fish, but never anything internal for the fish at all. Last year in the Kodiak area, which is, we can pan over to them, right on this archipelago here, and all of these regions in the Kodiak area last year, the two hatcheries here provided 35% of the total overall catch for the commercial fishermen in the Kodiak area, as far as salmon catches go. There's many other fisheries that don't have hatcheries or hatcheries are not involved in, but as far as the salmon catch, 35% of those fish came from hatchery fish. There are 5 different nonprofit aquaculture associations that are in Alaska, 2 in Southeast, 1 in Cook Inlet, 1 in Prince William Sound, and 1 here in Kodiak. There's also native-run hatcheries. There's also private nonprofit hatcheries that are run under a different configuration than ours, but there are hatcheries around the state. Our board of directors is made up of actual salmon permit holders. So our board of directors, the majority of the board of directors is made up of people that own permits to harvest salmon in the Kodiak area. There's also a sport fish seat, a processor seat, a community at large seat, but for the most part it's made up of commercial fishermen that volunteer their time. The fishermen, when they formed the Aquaculture Association, decided to put a 2% tax on all salmon catches in the Kodiak area, and that funds part of our activities. We have some cooperative agreements with the state of Alaska Department of Fish and Game for this hatchery, and that helps us fund a bit. And then we also do what's called cost recovery fisheries, where we sell a portion of the returning fish that the hatchery has created to a processor. The processor buys the right to go out and harvest a certain amount of pounds that were created by the hatchery, and they pay us for that guaranteed product. That's basically what happens.